I'm not sure if these are a reference to anything, but some of the names are rather questionable. I am currently wearing perhaps the coolest cardigan to ever exist in all of time. It is Christmassy. Look at this, the fabric and they're not pom-poms, pearls look like little Christmas ornaments. It's so gaudy, and yet I love it so much. Hello there, how are you all doing? I hope you are all doing well. You might be wondering why I'm holding my camera today instead of actually sitting with it. Boom! Look at that. Oh, it's messy. I need to clean that. Clean the mess that I've made. So I'm currently on my phone. If the audio sounds weird, it's because I'm using my phone. The reason I'm using my phone is because I seem to have lost part of my microphone. For me, personally, I've had it for about 3 months, so the fact I've not lost it before now is quite the miracle. I also broke something else. I broke my panel light here because I was angry and I yanked it down and then it snapped. So apparently I had the strength of 3 men and broke some plastic in half. Because of Chloe's condition called Woman Hulk Strengthitis, she has broken one of her lights and needs help replacing it. So to help pay for this incredibly important light replacement so Chloe doesn't have to look bad, that makes her look like Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas, Skillshare has kindly offered to sponsor today's video in aid of this light replacement. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. So a couple videos ago, I tested out the Stuart Semple Culture Hustle Mirrorist Mirror Paint in existence, and it got such an amazing response. I'm really glad that a lot of you liked it. When I purchased that product, I also purchased the Stuart Semple palette, the world's coloriest watercolors, which essentially are supposedly, from what I'm guessing, the most colourful watercolours in the entire world. Now, I personally am not a watercolour professional in any way, shape or form. I can paint galaxies. In fact, I actually made a Skillshare class once on how to paint galaxies with watercolour because I really enjoy making them with watercolours. Other than that though, something more substantial, I am an intermediate level artist when it comes to watercolours. So I decided that I would do a little bit of research and I would kind of learn a little bit more about watercolours before I go into them. Which is why today's video is kindly sponsored by Skillshare. I use Skillshare classes all the time for years anyway. But for this particular video, I actually looked into a Skillshare class to watch because they're so in-depth. So if you check out my link in the description, 1,000 of you can get a free trial of unlimited Skillshare classes. So this is what you're going to see basically. You're going to have the premium, you can code, you learn coding, typography, presentation essentials. These are a couple of classes I've taken recently, one by Brandon Woeful, the very, very famous photographer. There's one here about illustrating. These are some of the classes that I've personally saved. There are tons and tons of watercolor classes. These 2 classes in particular I found would be very beneficial to me. She basically teaches you exactly how you can paint the natural world. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. It's called Watercolor in the Woods, a beginner's guide to painting the natural world. You can learn a lot on YouTube, but Skillshare classes are a lot longer and far more in depth, and you usually learn from people that are professionals in the field, or at least people that really, really know what they're talking about. Basically, they are an incredible platform with thousands and thousands of online classes in business, design, art, illustration, photography, watercolor painting. The first 1,000 people only will get a free trial of Skillshare. So thank you once again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. I'm really excited about it. This palette contains 36 colors. You have basically this whole range here, as you can see, of different shades and different colors. I'm really excited to see if this claim of being the coloriest watercolors in existence is actually a thing. But I'm gonna stop waffling now and I'm going to get into trying to swatch this palette and use it and make a painting out of it. So wish me luck and let's get started. So funny story, I've just found my microphone. It was in a drawer, probably the drawer that I shoved stuff in when I was filming the other day. But basically, here we go. This is the palette box. Not sure how much you want to see of it, but I seem to have filmed quite a lot of box footage. I can't say that I've seen such a nice looking box before. This is very pretty for a watercolor palette. In fact, it does kind of remind me a little bit of an eyeshadow palette. So now the box has birthed a palette. We can see that it looks pretty normal. I was expecting something not quite this normal. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it in any way, shape or form. I just figured that it might look a bit different to this, but you know, it's plastic. In case you're wondering, you probably weren't, but for the sake of the review, it's plastic.
Opening it up, we have a sheet with all of the colours and shade names on it, a small palette, which will be great because I have not cleaned any of mine. And these are all of the colours. They're very pretty, but this is where looks can be very deceiving because it looks to me like a standard watercolour palette. Nothing crazy, you know, nothing crazy bright, but it's when we actually use it and mix it with water and put it on paper that we can really see just how much pigment is packed into these little tiny rectangles. As you can see, per my hand gestures, I'm super excited to try these. I did notice also there was a brush pen inside, which is fun. I don't really love these as much as maybe I used to because I've kind of gotten to grips more with just regular paintbrushes now, but I really like that this was included because normally watercolor palettes just have like the regular paintbrushes in. Now, as you can see, the website clearly says that it's $52, excellent light fastness, greedy, corporate free, and these are actually non-profit. So essentially they are not making a profit on it, so they can deliver these to you for a much lower price. So lots of respect for that. Now let's just take a moment to go back to all of the colours here. I'm not sure if these are a reference to anything. Some of the names are rather questionable, but nugget. I'm slightly embarrassed to say I didn't really know what this meant, so I kind of had to Google it. I don't recommend Googling it. My innocent homeschooled as a child background is definitely showing. You know, I didn't have kids to ruin my innocence. Now we're going to swatch. This is beautiful. It is stunning. My first impression was wow. Really wow. These are very highly pigmented and smooth. I was obsessed the first time I tried it. Look at the pigment. So much pigment. These are very colourful and it's not picking up on camera as much as it is in real life, but these are stunningly beautiful. This top row of colours is just mwah. It's beautiful. These are incredibly high quality. You can just tell almost instantly. Working on the second row now, I thought I'd just point out to you quickly the water that I'm using. It's kind of looking like a bright pink Gatorade or like a highlighter that's just exploded in a cup of water. Nothing quite says world's most colourful watercolours like Gatorade looking water. So here's an up close and then me spilling the water all over my paper by accident. It's fine. I just spent 10 minutes doing this, but you know, it's fine. Can I fix it with tissues? No, can't fix it. No, okay. I do not understand why I'm like this. I really don't. I'm so... Right, after 10 minutes of doing it again, you can clearly see the colours that are incredibly bright and colourful and the ones that aren't so much. The purples and blues in particular aren't anywhere near as pigmented or as bright as the reds. So for sure, these colours in particular are my favourite. It's also like a sunset, like it goes from reds to purples to blues to then more earthy tones, which I really like a lot. The water now looks like... Now, I personally don't have a huge amount of watercolor palettes. I've not tried a huge amount in my life. So I will say, personally, these are definitely the brightest, most colourful watercolors that I have personally ever used. Are they the world's most colourful? I cannot say for sure because I've not tried many. But I will say, in my world, these are definitely the most colourful, brightest watercolours I've tried. Look at me being all fancy. I have my washi tape. Now, the class I watched did say how important washi tape is for the edges. So I'm using proper washi tape for once instead of just random packing tape or sellotape, which I then put onto my clothes because it rips the paper off otherwise. The only thing is I wasn't sure if it was straight or not on the paper. I did not want another Bob Ross mural problem where it was all wonky.
So all I did next was sketch out loosely what I wanted to make. Now, I wanted to do some sort of snowy scene for the season, but because I was using the most colourful watercolours in the world, and I had an urge to make a snowy scene, I knew that I had to at least make it somewhat bright in some areas just to show off the colours a little bit. So I did some brainstorming and reference searching and found some really cool snowy scenes, as well as a picture of a snowed in beetle car, and it looked so striking against the snow, so I decided to go with that. Fun fact, I've always loved cars. Even as a kid, I just loved playing with cars, and my little Tykes red car was my favourite toy for years. In fact, I would actually play with my brother's little toy cars more than he did, and I love the Disney Cars movie. A lot of people don't like it, and this was news to me. But I think it's such a good movie. I really, really like it. It's definitely one of my top 5 Pixar movies. Once I'd drawn out the initial sketch, I just soaked the top half of the paper with water because this creates a nice base for the colours to spread out. I added some darker blues around the edges and blacks and faded that into lighter blues because I noticed this is a technique a lot of different artists use on night skies. Now, unlike normal, I decided to be very patient and wait for these to properly dry. Normally, I don't like any form of paint that requires waiting. I'm very impatient when I paint, so that's one of the reasons I don't really like oil painting. But
I wanted this to turn out nicely, so I took my time with each section so it wouldn't bleed into the next, because that is just not fixable and I didn't want that mess. So the Beetle was bright red, so I worked on all of the negative space areas since I knew this car was going to be covered in white snow, and I just wanted to leave as much plain space as I could so I wouldn't have to really fix a lot of the white and cover the red with a huge amount of gouache later on. I lost interest in the car at this point, so I went back to the background and added some trees. And this was probably my favourite thing to do in this whole painting. It was just a nice combination of different colours to give the illusion of further away trees and closer trees. And it was just, I really enjoyed it. They were very simple, but I had a lot of fun with it. Next up, I saturated the bottom half, and this is the half that has all of the snow, but instead of just pure white snow, usually it has hints of blue or purple, so I added a few different colours and variations very faintly all over. Now, because the car is in the snow, I added little jagged parts underneath to give it that illusion as well. This was a bit of a challenge for me because I've never really drawn anything or painted anything like this before, so it was definitely a lot of fun to do. Now, the rest of the painting pretty much consisted of me needing to clean it up a little bit and add some snowflakes and effects with gouache paint. For some reason, this footage decided to corrupt on me, so it's mostly just off camera, but before I show you the end result, I want to say these watercolours are very good. They say they're professional level, not student level watercolours on the website, and I can definitely see why. The palette has almost every colour you will ever need, and they are very, very bright and colourful. So 10 out of 10 if you are looking for a more professional grade palette. As someone that's an intermediate level with watercolours, I would absolutely recommend this if you can afford it. I think they are very, very good, and they're obviously, again, not for profit, so they compare themselves to more expensive brands of professional watercolour paint, but with obviously a much smaller price tag because they don't take the profits. And so, the final reveal. This is how it looks. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. I had so much fun doing this, and I really, really want to give watercolours a bit more of a go going forward. But yeah, this is how it turned out. Again, let me know in the comments down below what you think of these watercolours, what you think of the painting. And yes, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next Wednesday at 3 PM EST.